And welcome back to Eyewitness Newsmakers from your local election headquarters. I'm Andy Mahalchik and our producer, Jan Bognet. Our guest on this segment is Republican candidate for the 8th Congressional District, Jim Bognet from Hazel Township. He's challenging incumbent Democrat Matt Cartwright. Mr. Bognet, thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, Andy. Good morning, Jan. How are you?
Let's start off with the first question. Why are you running for Congress? Tell the folks at home a little bit about your background and yourself.
Well, I'm running for Congress because I think we could do better here in northeastern Pennsylvania. My name's Jim Bognet. I grew up in Hazel, Pennsylvania. My mom's a teacher. My dad's a union contractor. I grew up digging ditches, pouring concrete in a big Italian-Irish family. Played football and basketball at Hazel Area High School, and then went on to Penn State University on an academic scholarship. I grew up pouring concrete, digging ditches, working in my family construction business, learned a good work ethic. And I'm running for Congress because I think you deserve a congressman that works harder, a congressman that cares about his district, someone who's going to create manufacturing jobs. I worked in the Trump administration on creating manufacturing jobs. And I think Matt Cartwright represents Nancy Pelosi and the elites in San Francisco instead of the good people of northeastern Pennsylvania. So I'm running to represent the people of northeastern Pennsylvania.
And because of COVID-19, you would be here in our studio, but you are meeting us today via Zoom. So what is your opinion? How do you think the COVID-19 pandemic is being handled?
Well, I would love to be in your studio with you this morning, and I look forward to, when I'm serving in Congress, being in your studio with you. COVID-19 is a serious disease. There's no doubt about it. We saw President Trump and First Lady Trump both be diagnosed with COVID-19, and I believe we need to do a good job in facing that. I think we do that by using masks. I think we do that by being smart and socially distant. But I do think we have to have a society and an economy that functions. And I've been really intent on seeing us get back open, get the economy up and running again, while protecting our most vulnerable folks. And I really care about our senior citizens. My mom and dad are senior citizens. They have pre-existing conditions. They're at risk for COVID-19. So we need to handle it. We need to get through it, but we also need to not politicize it and not use it as an excuse. My opponent, Matt Cartwright's been using it as an excuse to not campaign. He's been hiding in Joe Biden's basement for the last 6 months.
Mr. Bognet, what about we talked about COVID-19, of course, the impact on the economy. By most accounts, by most measures, the economy was really on a fast track, was steamrolling ahead. COVID comes around, and now it's pretty much was decimated. What's your plan to turn it around and get the economy turned in the right direction?
Before COVID, we had the strongest economy of my lifetime under President Trump. That's because he cut taxes, focused on making China pay, focused on getting us manufacturing jobs. I believe we're building toward that again, and that's why we have to re-elect President Trump. So my plan is keep taxes low, focus on manufacturing, but more than anything, we need infrastructure here in northeastern Pennsylvania. I support a major infrastructure bill to fix 80, 81, our bridges. My opponent, Matt Cartwright, hasn't done anything on infrastructure for 8 years. He's been AWOL. So I believe if we have a good infrastructure bill, keep taxes low, keep fracking, keep drilling for energy, unlike my opponent and his friends in the squad who want the green rod deal, we need to exploit our energy resources here and get this economy moving again.
Mr. Bognet, we're going to switch gears just a little bit here and talk about the violence that we've been seeing across our nation. And many people are calling for defunding of police departments. What is your opinion on this?
I think it's shameful to call for the defunding of police departments. When my opponent, Matt Cartwright, said that we should cut funding for the Wilkes-Barre Police Department, I almost fell out of my chair. That's the exact wrong thing to do. I've been endorsed by every major law enforcement organization. Pennsylvania State Troopers, FOP lodges all over northeastern Pennsylvania have endorsed me because I'm fighting to protect law enforcement. Matt Cartwright, he believes we should defund the police. It's wrong. I've been warning all summer that if we didn't stop the violence in Portland and Chicago, it would come to our backyard. And we saw it come to Lancaster. We need to be behind our police. You know, when I talk to the wives of police officers, the husbands of police officers, they say, when our political leaders abandon us, it really hurts our ability to do our jobs, and it makes us feel undervalued and unsafe. And I can't believe my opponent, Matt Cartwright, would stand with Nancy Pelosi, Ilhan Omar, and the squad instead of with the police. We must stand behind our law enforcement.
You know, healthcare is always a big issue. I've been covering elections for 40 years. Healthcare reform is always on the table. It's like the weather. People talk about it, but nothing really gets done. What's your plan on healthcare, and how can it be improved, or do we leave it the way it is now?
No, we need more, we need better, we need more transparent healthcare. My parents both have pre-existing conditions. My dad only has one kidney. My mom has diabetes. We must protect people with pre-existing condition, and that will be one of my first priorities when I get to Washington, D.C. But we also need to help our seniors. We need to have cheaper drug prices. We need to have more transparency in billing. Isn't it horrible when you go to the hospital and you get hit with those hidden bills and hidden fees? That's why I think it's shameful that Matt Cartwright has taken so much money from the insiders in the health insurance lobby in Washington, D.C. We can do better in health insurance. We can do better in innovation. We need more innovation in healthcare. The rest of our economy's changed dramatically in 20 years, but healthcare hasn't changed in the way that it's administered. I think we need transparent billing, cheaper drugs, and more innovation.
And of course, Mr. Bognet, our military and our veterans, they're important. They're part of our everyday, questions that are important to voters. How do you support the military and our veterans?
I love our veterans. I love our military. I'm very proud of President Trump for rebuilding our military, which was in horrible shape under Obama and Biden. Rebuilding our military has been a priority under President Trump, and I'm proud of him. My grandfather served in the Pacific during World War II. He was a tail gunner off the USS Saratoga. My grandmother was an Army nurse in England for 3 years. The military is very close to my heart. We must support our veterans. We must make sure that the Veterans Administration offers them the highest standard of care. President Trump has introduced a lot of reforms that have helped our veterans, but I think we have more to do. Dealing with PTSD, some of my friends have dealt with that. Dealing with that and cutting down on the suicide rate among veterans, it's heartbreaking that veterans are committing suicide every day. We must reach out to veterans in our community, both at government level, but also as people. We must reach out to our veterans, tell them they're loved, tell them they're valued, and protect them.
Okay, one final question, Jim Bognet. Tell the voters, why should they elect you to Congress and on November 3rd?
Well, I believe the voters of Northeastern Pennsylvania deserve a candidate that understands them, because he's one of them. And I am one of the people of Northeastern Pennsylvania that understands what it is to work hard. Everything I've gotten in my life, I've worked for, sometimes multiple jobs. My opponent, Matt Cartwright, he's not one of us. He's a phony and a liberal. He flies his private jet back and forth to Washington. He doesn't care like people like you and me. He's lied on his ethics forms. Under penalty of perjury, he forgot his 4th vacation home. Can you believe that? And his private jet. We need someone who understands us, because you know what? If you don't understand us, you won't vote the way we want you to vote. And that's why Matt Cartwright's voted for $1,200 checks for illegal immigrants and voted to impeach the president. He always votes with Nancy Pelosi instead of with us. I will represent the people of Northeastern Pennsylvania. I will represent our values, pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, pro-God. And that's why I'm asking for your prayers, your support, and your vote. Thank you so much.
Okay, Jim Bognet, Republican candidate in the 8th Congressional District. Jim is from Hazel Township. And thank you for taking time to be with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And you are watching Newsmakers from your local election headquarters, and we will be back right after this.